Hey, everybody. Welcome to the reboot of the Birds on the Wire podcast. We started this podcast probably 5 years ago. We did some episodes, and the whole purpose was that very tired of listening to people talk about Cardinals baseball on the radio and on television and not really getting down to the nuts and bolts. You would think a major league team would get plenty of coverage, and they probably are somewhere. There's probably a podcast that I'm missing. There's probably somebody talking about it in depth the way I want to. But I thought back then that I was going to go ahead and just make a podcast that talked about the team on a regular basis, in depth, and didn't pull any punches, Whenever you're listening to radio broadcasts or you're listening to television broadcasts, you're listening to a corporation talk about another corporation, so they got to watch what they say, and so they're really tempered. Good thing about a podcast from just a fan's perspective, we can say whatever the hell we want, and that's the best part of podcasting. I am an avid Cardinal fan and former ball player myself from way back, let's be frank. Today I'm going to sit down with Connor Wilson, a young man who recently finished his college pitching career and loves to talk about Cardinal baseball and really has some interesting things to say. So let's talk to Connor, see what he thinks is going on with the Cardinals right now on July 8th, 2024. All right, here we go. I want to welcome everybody to the reboot of the Birds on the Wire podcast. I'm your host, Josh Bavinet. Today I'm going to sit down with Connor Wilson, as I just said at the beginning of the episode. I want to say thanks to our sponsors, Phantom Mentor Digital. Phantom Mentor Digital, get visible with all things digital. All right, let's get to the episode.
Yep.
Cool. All right, so today is July 8th, 2024. The Cardinals are heading towards the All-Star break. Me and Connor Wilson are going to talk about the current status of things with the Cardinals. And so, Connor, today, big victory, larger, I guess just better offense than we've generally had lately. What's your take on where the Cardinals are at heading into the break?
For sure. I mean, I think Michaelis has looked really good recently, including today. The shutout,
Yeah.
not very many pitches. I think he had around 93 pitches today.
So I felt like he came out of the gate getting hit pretty hard.
Yeah, and that tends to happen with Michaelis sometimes just because he doesn't have that blow it past you type speed.
Right.
But I think he adjusted well, and
a little later in the game as he started to settle in, like once he got through the rough first inning, right? Like where they were just putting some heat on him. It wasn't that rough. He got out of it with, I mean, let's face it, Ciani made an amazing catch. He
made two amazing catches.
Yeah, he goes back on the ball like nobody's. I think he's made it to where you're going to have a hard time chasing him out of center field because he is so defensively sound.
Yeah, I mean, so I actually even looked at it before we started, and so I have some of these stats about Ciani's defense, which I think are pretty crazy.
Right.
Because outside of the St. Louis area, many people don't talk about Ciani. So he's fourth in outs above average, and he's second among outfielders. And this is in the entire MLB.
Right.
He's eighth in outfielder jump, which is 90% catch probability or lower.
Right.
And he's third in catch probability in all of MLB, which I think is, I mean,
you can't take it out of the lineup.
Good as you can hope for.
You can't take it out of the lineup, no matter how you look at it. You can't take it out of the lineup.
No, and I mean his bat's even starting to go a little bit.
Well, I mean, you certainly can't replace him with a Lars Nootbaar or a Dylan Carlson when their defense cannot hold up to that, and their numbers are not that much better offensively. Period.
Well, no, I mean Ciani has his average up to 233 right now, and Nootbaar's is at 234. So I mean,
right, and he's coming off an injury. There's no way you just plug him into center field when this guy's playing at this level. It's weird because this team is developing a heart and soul that is different than most people would have expected at the beginning of the year, right?
for
So,
sure.
yeah, and so that heart and soul, like, I'm one of the few people that when Wilson Contreras got hurt, I was like, I've always liked these other catchers a little more in terms of what they bring to the team aspect. Obviously, he's a big bat, but I don't know as a team player if he's got the same attitude as some of these young catchers we've got, right? They lost 5 in a row when Contreras went down, and I thought, wow, I'm wrong, or like, but it turned out that they really developed these cohesive bonds with these young players as a result of some of the main guys going out. And I think now you plug the veterans back in without giving them instant jobs, and you're just gonna have a better team. Does that
See,
make
and
sense to you?
I think I agree with that, and however, I think Contreras is such a fire starter for our team. I mean, a couple days ago, right after he just came back and that comeback win we had when he hit that home run
Yeah.
and he's rounding first base and then as he rounds third base going to home, he puts his finger up to his mouth to shush the crowd
Right, right.
because I saw in a post game interview that he said that the crowd had been saying
Been
stuff that
giving him a bunch of shit the whole night.
yeah, yeah. And so I love that about him. I love that like he is there to win.
I do, but you
He
can
wants
see why
nothing
you
more
would
than to
love
win.
that compared to maybe what's good for the team. My point is, I think that he came back humbler because his bat is necessary for this offense to do anything. His
Yeah,
bat, if you put him at DH, I mean, I would let Pajes catch 3 out of 4 games, and I would DH Contreras the other 3, right? Or maybe they
yeah,
just split time, you know. But
yeah.
Pajes is a better catcher.
He is 100%. I mean, Contreras has made improvements since last year behind the
Yeah.
dish, but
Oh, he's
Three
doing a
Pajas is
fine job
better.
as a catcher. Honestly, I got no problem with him. I just think this team needed to kind of recenter around its young core
Yeah,
and give
and
guys
we
like
kind of rallied.
Burleson.
We
But it
rallied
turns
off
out
of
the Burleson and guys like that that's the real core. Those guys want it really bad. They're on first contracts and they want it really bad. And
that.
so these veterans that have already been through it, like Carpenter, who I'm glad he's on our bench now, Arenado, Goldschmidt, Contreras. They're not our future. They're our core right now, but they're not our future.
Yeah. So I mean, I I agree. Pajes behind the dish is 100% where we need to go because even when he comes up to the bat, he's not just an automatic out. I mean, he can put the ball in play. He has some power, but I do think Contreras has to be in the lineup. I mean, I know he went 0 for 3 today, but he went 5 for 16 on the series.
Right,
So you take today out of it, that's 5 for 13.
right,
And his average is still at 266, and then has also hit a home run in 3 out of the last 6 games.
right. You don't want to have instant outs like Victor Scott, but you
Exactly.
as long as your guy can be serviceable, hit 200, hit a bomb every once in a while, and be amazing behind the dish. You got to go with them. Behind the dish, I mean,
Yeah,
because I think Ivan Herrera deserves a real shot.
he does.
But his game behind the plate is not as good as Paez. Nobody, I mean, Paez he has a skill set that's a lot like Yachty. I mean, there's only one Yachty defensively, but I mean, it's the same teachings of how to play the position.
Yeah, I mean, and he can still grow into that. And I
Yes,
think there's no better way to do that than leave him back there.
Yachty
And
hit I
you can
think
tell he keeps
205
getting
as
better.
a rookie, 203 as a rookie, 205 as a rookie, something like that. So there's no doubt this dude can do it. And again, Contreras has probably got about 4 years left on his career. I mean, How old is he now? Maybe 30, 32, 32. I don't know his age exactly. Let me look at, let me look it up.
He might be around 29, I want to say.
Okay, 2016, his debut. So he's 32 years old.
32. Okay,
All
yeah.
right. So as a catcher, you got to think 4 more years, and that he's still he can still be a main guy catcher, right? He's going to
Yep.
hit for a while. I mean, Pudge hit to 40, so Pudge Rodriguez hit to 40. So I mean, but he couldn't catch every day anymore. Anyway, so that's what I mean. Contreras is like right now, like he's the veteran on your team, just like Goldschmidt. By the way, looking better. I always say with Goldie, July's his month. July and August, he's gonna get hot as hell.
And he has shown glimpses this year so far to where like he'll go on a couple games to where he's just roping everything and looking really good. I mean, he hit a homer tonight.
Yeah, I mean, and it was a bomb. He hadn't hit a
Yeah,
bomb like that in a while.
yeah. I mean, that was as soon as he made contact, you knew it was out.
Yeah, the thing about Goldie is, and you can look back on his career and you will see the numbers. July, August. Like he will go into July, August hitting 242 with 9 home runs, and then he will go for when the heat comes out, that dude hits. I don't know what it is about him, but he loves the middle. He likes the dog days more than the beginning. He struggles in the beginning.
I agree. And
Yeah.
I mean, statistically, you can look at it and it proves that. But the one thing I will say about it is this year he started out a little slower than he normally does. Because like normally
Yeah,
his first month will be slow and then his next month will
yeah,
pick up a little bit. But I mean,
he'll
now
be
his
hitting
average is at 229.
255, 260 or something like that, and then he'll pop. This year he's been like hovering around 200, like
Yeah, I
really
mean
not
he
looking
can't
really
break that
good.
230 right now.
Yeah, 229, 662 OPS, like that's just way beneath his bar.
Yeah,
But
but
he
one
could he could
guy,
be he could be done in a year now too. I mean, he's 36, so like he's at the end too.
yeah,
Um,
for sure. And I think next year is his last year under contract with us too.
Yeah, I
So
was reading a thing on baseball Redbird rants about, you know, grading the was it a good deal? 5 years, $130 million. Let's just grade the deal. Was it a good deal? And obviously it was. You had to have him on this team, but with 279, 364, 40, 83 slash, 847 OPS, that's not elite bankable star level, I would say. Do you agree with that? What do you think?
no, I agree. But I mean, I also don't disagree with getting him. I mean, simply because
Absolutely not.
like at that time we needed that. I mean,
We had nobody.
yeah, we needed that, and at the time, I mean, he was the best out there that you could get that was available,
Yeah.
and we went and got him.
Yeah, and it was a strong move. We've lost some big bats um in over this, a Razorina, um
Adolis Garcia, he's another one.
Adolis Garcia, big time. Well, I don't think that one could have been predicted. But
No, I
for
mean now,
instance,
yeah.
Ozuna, even though I don't love him as a player, his numbers are exceptional this year. Like
Oh, for sure. I mean,
yeah,
he's an all-star this year,
he's an
and well
all-star.
deservedly,
Yeah, because he's hitting bombs left over right, man.
and has a good average too. I mean,
Yeah, just a good overall hitter. And I think we tried to keep him. I just don't think we tried to keep him that much because he only had a decent year with us. You know, but we've had a couple bats get off, leave the Cardinals. Um, I think that the last thing I'll say on the negative, because I really think the team's playing well right now. I'm really starting to like watching them. I'm really starting to root for them. I'll always be a Cardinal fan. Obviously, that's not even up to discussion. But sometimes when they're boring, man. Like they're just not.
exactly.
Yeah. But Arenado, I feel, has looked the least athletic of his career, meaning he's just not moving at the level that I'm used to seeing him move. Um, Still making great plays, still doing great things, still, potential Hall of Famer, probably a Hall of Famer. I think
Yeah,
he needs I think he needs a World Series.
I
But
mean, I think he is a Hall of Famer,
yeah,
but uh, I mean, because
his
in my
numbers are insane.
opinion, and I'm younger, so obviously I haven't got to see everybody that other people have got to see, but in my
There's
opinion,
only
he's
there's
the
only
greatest
three in
third
that
baseman I've
category.
ever seen.
There's only three in that category. It's Brooks Robinson, Scott Rowland, and him. And you could go. There's other guys. Mike Schmidt was amazing. Mike Schmidt is a Hall of Famer. So yeah,
See, Mike Schmidt would be my number two.
yeah. Who Brooks Robinson would be the best defensive third baseman of all time. But mine would go. Well, I mean, yeah, mine would go. Brooks Robinson, Rowland. No, Brooks Robinson, Schmidt, Rowland, Arenado. Um, but I think that people would have a hard time leaving Brooks Robinson up there because of the lack of offense.
Yeah, see, because Brooks Robinson, we would have the same top four, but mine would go a little different, and I might be a little favorited towards the Cardinals in this, but Arenado one, Schmidt two, and actually, you know what? I almost would consider putting David Wright in there too, because Dave, like I said, he's another guy who was during my time, but I mean, David Wright was super solid from
David
the
Wright was super solid. Terry Pendleton. I don't think he's at that level, but Terry Pendleton was also great. Let me think of others. Eddie Murray. Did Eddie Murray play third base? Or was he a first baseman?
uh, I think
That's
he might
going
have got a
back.
little bit
That's
of both.
going back. Yeah, I don't want to make a mistake here, but let me check and see Eddie Murray. Eddie Murray, Pirates and the Dodgers first baseman. Sorry, the much easier position to hit at. Other third baseman, that jump out. You got any other ones? Oh, Adrian Beltre.
Adrian Beltre, yeah.
He's a top notch third baseman. Yeah, Eddie Murray's before my time as well. But okay, so I think our four are pretty clearly great third basemen.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think you can make an argument for any one of them. And I mean, if somebody came up to me and said any of those four, that's the greatest of all time, I I would state my opinion, but I wouldn't like
yeah,
try to argue too much about it because I mean, I think any four of them could be the one.
right. Well, if any 20-year-old tells me that LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan, I say, I understand why you might think that, but until you've seen it, you don't know it, right? So I can't say Brooks Robinson and really believe it the way that I feel about Mike Schmidt, Scott Rowland, and Arenado. I think that even though I would say Brooks Robinson, because I've seen his films of the defensive plays he made, but I think that Arenado's made plenty of those plays, honestly,
Oh
that
yeah,
are
for sure. I mean, hell, he's made plenty of them this year. I mean, I know his defense hasn't been as good as it always is. Uh, Well, actually, I take that back. His defense has been as good as it always is. He just, like you said, isn't moving like he used to. So
right,
he can't get to all of the balls quick
right,
enough and everything. But I mean, it's hard to watch a game and not see him make a play that is just like, wow.
true. And at third base, where even though it's the hot corner, you're not getting the level of action you're getting up the middle.
Yeah,
So
like at
for you to
shortstop.
have one play a game from third base that is extraordinary is just proof that you're like truly gifted.
Yeah, well, and it's the longest throw on the field, and I mean, everything. Like when you run in on a swinging bunt, barehanded, and your head's almost touching the ground because of how sideways you are, and you sling it over there to Goldie and still get the out somehow. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's it's so fun to watch.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. when we come back, I'm going to ask Connor about who he thinks my biggest pick to be the biggest future star of the Cardinals is, and see if he thinks that of the same person I think right after this break. Hey guys, so at the top of the show, as I mentioned, this episode is brought to you by Phantom Mentor Digital. Phantom Mentor Digital is a digital production company that's capable of doing pretty much all things digital, whether it's sound recording or working on a website or making a promo video or making a film or writing some copy. The people at Phantom Mentor Digital can kind of do it all. You can reach out to them on phantommentordigital.com, but I would like to play for you their very new show. And someday I'll explain my involvement in that show. But their brand new show, Scramble, which should be coming out very soon. Here's a little audio preview of the up-and-coming comedy, Scramble.
Welcome to the Corn Dunes Golf Course.
I would like to welcome you all to the Corn Dunes Qualifier. The winner of today's tournament will get an automatic bid in the big banana.
There's the anglers.
You got the notepad?
Yeah.
All right. Let's document this for the data.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. There.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
About what? 220?
220, yes.
Maybe 216.
The metal irons. Real golf wives.
What are you doing? The wind's picking up. Are you going to go down a club? I don't know, but this breeze feels amazing on my Botox.
Denzel Washington.
We've all seen you putt. I don't need that black magic voodoo nonsense that's in your putter to affect my putters.
Jesus Chips.
The Lord is my caddy. I shall not want. He maketh me accept bad lies and divots on green fairways.
Johnny Longo and the Pindicate.
The prize money, 10 times that of any other Scramble tournament. I mean, it's like the live tour of Scramble tournaments.
Scramble. The first golf comedy TV series ever.
Okay, so that's Scramble, coming soon from Phantom Mentor Digital. Go over and check out more information at phantommentor.com. Let's head back to the episode. Okay, so we're back. I'm with Connor Wilson. Connor, I'm going to ask you, you as a former college pitcher, have a strange propensity to love offensive players. You love offense, even though your whole job was to shut them down, right?
Yeah.
I do too, and I think that the Cardinals' offense has really turned it up lately. I want you to answer this question. Who do I think is the biggest star, future star, or just biggest star on the Cardinals right now?
See, so before I answer that question, I'm going to talk about why I love offensive players so much.
Okay.
It's because that's all I used to ever study. Whenever I was facing a team or knew that I was going to pitch or whatever, even if I didn't know I was going to pitch, I would do nothing but study the spray charts, watch videos, see what they can and can't hit, where their weaknesses are and everything. And so, like, just watching hitters like that made me grow, like, a love for them, because there would be some guys that, like, when we made it to the NCAA tournament and played the number one team in the country, there were a couple of guys on that team that I was just like, I mean, it doesn't matter where you throw it, they can hit it. So they didn't really have weaknesses. You just had to be better on the mound. And so that's really why I love offense.
Like Vlad Guerrero.
Exactly.
Just no place you can pitch it where his arms can't get it.
Exactly. I mean, you bounce it and he hits a home run. Right.
Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. Because you're studying them and looking for attack points, and when you can't find one, and then you see a guy on the Cardinals or other teams which you're not rooting for, have that ability. It's like it's amazing.
Yeah.
How do you think? How do you think
original
Burrow's?
question now?
Okay, original question.
So I think the Cardinals actually have a really good young core,
Right.
and I think there's a couple guys that you could go with.
You got to go with number. You got to name them. You got to pick it right, though. You can tell me why the other ones are more important, but you got to hit it right off the first one.
So honestly, I think me and you have the same one, and even though he was 0 for 5 today, I'm going Mason Wynn.
There's just no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, he went 0 for 5 today, still has a 289 average. I mean,
well, I just saying if I'm going to pick the next Cardinal Hall of Famer, that's who I pick.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's super young. What is he, 21? Didn't he just turn 21?
Yeah, he's like that young, 2021. He's young.
Yeah. And like I said, he just dropped below that 290 average today because he went 0 for 5. But
he hit one to the track that he thought was gone.
Yeah, and I was never worried about him last year when we pulled him up at the end and he could not hit to save his life. I wasn't worried about it simply because, one, I mean, bringing a kid up that young, I mean, it's a completely different game. So you can't really expect too much out of him. And then you bring him up and just throw him right in there. And then, like, he has all these high expectations. I couldn't imagine what was going through his head when he, like, walked up there for his first couple plate appearances. And then after the first couple games, he hadn't gotten a hit. Didn't he start out like 0 for his first like 17 or something?
Yeah.
And like everybody's like, because he hears it, and so everybody is, oh, Mason Wynn is not who we thought he was. Like,
yeah,
he's really good on defense, but he can't hit. Like
that never even crossed my mind. There's guys that, if you would ask me, did I think that Burleson would figure it out the way he has? The answer would be no. I thought he could have been a serviceable bat off the bench, but to watch him basically like kind of recreate a Lance Berkman style of hitting on the Cardinals has been absolutely amazing. There's guys that figure it out, and there's guys that kind of, miss the boat in that regard. I mean, Brendan Donovan, like, talk about a guy who's got to figure it out. So you take a guy like Brendan Donovan, you take a guy like Alec Burleson. You don't expect those guys to turn into stars. Michael Ciani, like, you can't take him off the field because defensively he is at the level of a Mason Wynn, right? The thing about Mason Wynn, though, is he's going to hit 289 back when Ozzie would have hit 230 for like 4 years before Ozzie figured it out. Ozzie figured it out 4 or 5 years in the league, how to be a 280 to 300 hitter. And Mason Wynn's hitting 289 his first full year in the league, So, and that defense, I mean, those wheels and that defense and that arm are just, they're amazing. So he's the guy. For me, he's the guy. He's the center. He's the Ozzie Smith going forward, I
think he can even be a better hitter than Ozzie.
He already is.
Yeah, I mean,
he's got more. He's got more power, turns on a ball, quicker hands than Ozzie ever had.
Exactly, but I think he'll be able to keep it up throughout his career. I mean, I don't think it's because I know some people walk in and start out really good or whatever, have a really good first year or whatever, and then kind of slow down. But I mean, watching him play, I mean, he has a good eye. And also what I love about him is he loves, even though he's a leadoff hitter, he loves to jump on the first pitch.
Right.
And I mean, I always love jumping on the first pitch because a lot of times that's going to be the best pitch you get.
There's no doubt about that. But Ozzie always had a kind of a loopy swing, a lot of loop, a lot of space for mistakes. When he figured out how to get directly to the ball and get enough drive into the ball to where he could get it to the outfield, then he started to hit. This guy's already got, track power just already built in. right? So he's going to get his share of balls that he catches and knocks them out, and he's going to hit balls in the gap all day long, right? So Ozzie didn't even have really gap power. In the beginning, he had quick hands, but it was kind of a slow bat. It was kind of a loopy, overly slow swing for a guy with such quick hands. So this guy doesn't have it, man. The barrel is straight to the ball, and it is quick.
Yeah.
So pitchers are gonna have a hard time beating him. And if he learns how to hit, understand that he's gonna get 9 home runs a year, he's going to steal 30 bases. He's going to need to make contact at all times. Then he will. I mean, again, Hall of Fame career, ready to go, just ready to go. You know, I can't say that about Burleson. I can't say that about anybody else on this team, but I can say it about him for sure. So let's get to Gorman.
I love what he has been doing recently. So this last series, he went 9 for 15, and he did not have a home run, which I know that's his main thing is we want him to bat around that 220 and have 30 home runs.
I want him to hit 236 and have 30 home runs, but yes.
Yeah, so, but around that, I mean.
Yeah.
And before this series, he was at 185 or something.
I think he got down to 178 for one at bat. He was.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, this last national series, though, he went 9 for 15. And like I said, he had no home runs, but I mean, hell, if you're not hitting home runs, but you're going 9 for 15, then, I mean.
He's got plenty of home runs.
Striking out.
Yeah, I mean, he's got plenty of home runs, so the home runs are not the problem. The striking out's the problem. So I think our hitting coach, for the first time in about 5 or 6 years, the St. Louis hitting coach is going to have to deserve some kudos because he got these guys taking longer at bats, taking a lot, making pitchers work. And, I think that basically Gorman got into the mode where he had to hit the bombs, and somebody got him out of it.
I mean, last year Gorman proved for what was it, a month and a half, to where he went on an absolute tear. I mean, not only was he hitting home runs, his average was up there in the 280s. I mean, he was taking good at bats. He was walking. His strikeout percentage was down super low.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of the year, not completely fell off, but wasn't doing as good. And then this year, I mean, he just looked lost up there. And you can tell, I mean, now it's a little different after this series. But before this series, I mean, even in the same game, he was changing his approach to the plate every single at bat. Because, in my opinion, he's a really good hitter. He was just so messed up in the head.
He's a professional hitter.
Yeah, he was just so messed up in the head that he thought he had to change everything about his swing anytime he'd strike out or ground out or fly out, whatever. And so that was
because he's probably about your age. I dare say he's a baby. He is a baby in this game, a professional hitter, all the skills, but his head doesn't know how to fail yet, the way you have to learn how to fail to be good at something. So,
especially in a game like baseball, where it's made out of failure.
Correct. And for him to have the maturity to, let's ask ourselves, would you, if you got to spend 1 year in the major leagues and you hit 210 and had 17 bombs, you would quit. You'd be okay with that for the rest of your life, because 1 year in the major leagues is already the feat. But now to see him be 20, probably what is his age? Let me check his age. He's 24. Okay. So 24, already in the majors, already has bats going back to 2022. Right. So he's already 3 years in the league. He's hitting at a level that's acceptable. 14 home runs in 2022, 27 home runs in 2023. 17 home runs by the All-Star break in 2024, and you're 24 years old. Bat him 8th, 9th, 6th, 4th. I don't care. Leave him in your lineup and let the kid play. You know,
I agree. The only thing that I would kind of disagree with that is before this series. Yes, obviously this series. I mean, he has the highest average on our team for that
Right.
series, for this series.
Right.
But before that,
he can't strike out like that.
Yeah, but I mean, I think before this series, we should have. I mean, who you bring up is another thing, but I think we should have sat him down or put him on the IL, like 10-day IL, and
Right.
just put a hitting coach in his pocket, never leave his side, and then.
But he's too good of a major league player right now. You can't lose him out of your lineup right now, especially with like.
But the way he was hitting before this, you could.
No, because you had to hope that the next at bat was going to be the one, including that grand slam. Like you had to hope that, okay, until I get Edman back, until I get Nootbaar back, until Jordan Walker's right, until I got like somebody who's got some upside, I got to roll with this guy. He's my second baseman.
And I just think like putting him on the 10-day IL when we would have.
Okay, so then you do that. Then you got to move Brendan Donovan to second, correct?
Hammer Fermin, yeah.
Fermin, okay, so you're gonna put
because Fermin has a higher average than Gorman.
He does, but he hasn't looked really good at the plate.
No, but Fermin also a thing about Fermin is he can lay a bunt down and do it really well.
Okay, but I think you still stick with Gorman's chance to knock one out of the park, even though he's striking out a ton, to Fermin. Until you get Edman back.
I mean, I agree. It was not like great timing for us because if we had like Edman or even if we had Newt at this time, like then it would have made much more sense. I just feel like it's so hard, especially with like you said, his Gorman's age and his maturity for the game so far.
Yeah.
I think it's so hard to be like, okay, go out there and face the absolute best pitchers in the world and try to figure it out. Like, best case scenario would have been Edman been back.
But when you spin it with a young player, okay. So if I'm coaching, as a former player and I'm coaching, I would look at that kid and I would take the pressure off of him and I'd say, listen, because of the injuries, we got to throw you out there, and you just do the best you can. Okay. We're not expecting anything out of you. We know what you can do. So just go out there and just roll because you're protecting us. It's on us. We failed as an organization to have a second baseman that could take the pressure off you. You should be DHing more. Like just set him up to where every failure is actually just him defending the universe, defending his team, right? I got to go out there every day, just even though I'm not hitting, I'm in a slump, right? When he's 26, that's going to load. That's going to like upload to the AI universe of Gorman. It's just going to be like, he's going to turn into a hitting robot at some point.
Yeah, well, and the thing about Gorman is he's a gamer. Like,
he's a baller, yeah.
He went through so much shit. Like how bad he was hitting, and like you mentioned earlier, he's young. So he's even more prominent on social media than like someone like Goldie. And so like he's seeing all this stuff and everybody from the St. Louis area talking about him and all this. And I mean, quite honestly, I never said anything over social media, but
he remains pretty humble.
He knows that's out there. And so he still got into the lineup every single day. And I mean, he worked his ass off. Like whether he was doing it right or wrong, he still went out there and did it.
Because he's a superstar.
Yeah. And it looks like he's finally figured it out now. I mean,
well, for this moment, I'm going to say like a Nolan Arenado, any player you look at their first couple years, their numbers, it doesn't represent what they're capable of. What I see though is a professional hitter who will figure it out, meaning just the way you analyze video of them, he's going to analyze video of you, and he's going to start figuring out why he's getting beat, and he's going to beat them because that's what it requires if you're going to be an elite hitter, you know. And if I had to judge where I think his career is going to go compared to a Mason Wynn, you know, you could put him in categories that will equal an amazing career. You know, I put him in the Schwarber category a little bit. But honestly, I think he'll end up striking out a lot less, but I think he'll hit less home runs. But he can play a killer second base. Where are you going to put Schwarber?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
put Schwarber at DH. That's it.
That's right. And you would agree that Gorman's performance at second base has been admirable.
Oh, I mean, it's gotten so much better. And I mean, because he's a primary third baseman. We moved him to second.
Correct. And my point is, I never thought he had the range to play that position.
Yeah, I mean, and
he's a big dude.
Last year, even last year, I don't think he did terrible at second. But I mean, this year, it's like he took a massive jump on the defensive end to where, I mean.
Well, I mean, that's the beauty of this team.
Super solid at.
The beauty of this team is like you got a guy like Mason Wynn sitting over there at short, and he's talking to a guy like Gorman, and he's like, "I need you in this lineup because you hit bombs. So I'm gonna work with you about this up the middle defense. We're gonna get this right, right? And if you got guys in the right headspace with each other, they're talking to each other from that perspective. They're like, let's defend up the middle." And they start working together. You can take a lesser defender like Gorman, who just doesn't have the range, but probably has the range of an Arenado. Like seriously, he's probably got the range of a middle of his career Arenado, and he's playing second base. That's a big amount of area to cover, but he's working with Mason Wynn, who is probably the next Ozzie Smith. So now he's sitting over there going, okay, all I got to do is like field grounders and get it to this dude or get it to Goldschmidt, who will scoop everything. I'm in pretty good situation here. And then if I can figure out the hitting to the point where that's what I'm getting paid for, that's a 15-year career right there. I mean.
Yeah. And I mean, also, another third baseman that we have that we changed his position is Jordan Walker. I mean, Jordan Walker coming all the way up through the minors, everything he did before the minors. I mean, he was an outstanding third baseman. I don't know if
so was Gorman.
Third, but
well, not an outstanding third baseman, but Gorman was a solid third baseman.
Yeah, and Jordan Walker was right there with him. And I mean,
don't you think
we moved him to the outfield? I mean.
Don't you think Arenado kind of like knows that, all of that?
Yeah.
Do you think he does, or do you think?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean,
he's a ball player.
Yeah.
You're getting. I mean, it's a private plane in MLB, but you're getting on the bus after the game, and you're looking at the guys in the eyes about who delivered that day, right? And you know which ones are the overworkers and which ones are the hammers that can just, save your game when everything's failing, right? And so the hammers have always been Goldschmidt and Arenado. And last year, like if you go back to Yachty, and then when Pujols was hanging out at the end, you knew who your hammers were, right? And you knew who your hustlers were, and then you knew who your slackers were, right? Arenado's got to understand that, he's got two third basemen that are playing other positions because he's our third baseman. He's the best that we've ever had. Although Scott Rowland was probably one of my favorite players of all time. And I would probably take Scott Rowland over Arenado tomorrow if you just put them both in their prime, right? I don't think that a lot of people would agree with me on that, and I totally get it. But for me, Scott Rowland was the shit.
Yeah, I mean, and I know 100% he was. But the thing is for me, I only got to see the tail end of Scott
Well,
Rowland's
because he
career.
hurt his shoulder, and that was it. And
So
he
it
still
was hard
got
for
into
me
the
to
Hall of
love
Fame.
him as much. I mean, I love him because he was a Cardinal, and I know he was a great third baseman and everything. And I don't like discredit him for that.
Yeah, he was great.
But I only got to see the tail end of his career.
Yeah, that's too bad because much like the conversation, maybe because I played a lot of third base in my life, we're talking a lot about third basemen tonight. But the truth is that Scott Rowland was exactly how I envisioned a third baseman to be. He was a wall down there, quick hands, and could hit. And until he hurt his shoulder, I mean, he probably had 4 or 5 more years left, but he hurt his the inside of his front shoulder, and he couldn't swing the bat anymore. So his average dropped like 60 points in a year, and he was at the end of his career, so it just wasn't going to happen. But his numbers are still extraordinary. And anyway, I've never seen anybody. Mason Wynn has that kind of arm. I think the guy from Cincinnati, De La Cruz, right? He's got an amazing arm, right? Don't you agree?
Yeah, insane.
Insane, right? So I never seen anybody till Rowland throw balls across the diamond that I never saw lose height, right? Like they weren't even. It wasn't even like they were thrown as hard. They didn't even cross the field as fast as balls I've seen thrown. But they never ever lost their height. They like carried like a fastball. They carried like a four-seamer every single time he threw it. And I watch Arenado throw balls from different angles, and they curve in and they curve this way, they curve that way. They always hit the target, but there's a little bit of a frisbee thing going on that like I've seen shortstops do growing up compared to guys that come right over the top. But Rowland had that just four-seam fastball, had a lift to it
from dead straight. Where he throws it, that's where it goes.
Exactly. Hit the guy in the face every single time without any change in the arc of the ball across the diamond,
Yeah, and trust me, I know, like, so my senior year of high school going into my freshman year of college, I was on my summer team to where not a single person on that team was not going to play college baseball. Everybody was going to play college baseball.
Right, I understand.
And, I mean, I was a PO, a pitcher only, and I like second game of the year for us, our third baseman got hurt. Our coach came to me on the bench and was like, "Hey, can you play the infield?" And I was like, "I mean, yeah, I grew up playing the infield." I was like, "I can't hit, but I grew up playing the infield, so I can play it." And he's like, "All right, you're going to third." So I go out there, I make a diving play, throw it from my knees, get the kid out at first, and then next inning I get 2 putouts that inning, and then next thing you know, I took a D1 third baseman spot, and I started at third every game that I didn't pitch, and the games that I pitched, the next game I would start at second base.
Right.
And I mean, I can tell you that my first baseman loved me playing second base so much more than third base because my ball would move 5 feet. I mean,
Right.
I'd always hit him in the chest, but it would move. It would start 5 feet left of him and move back into him. Which, I mean, that does not make it easy on the third baseman. Even though you hit him in the chest, it doesn't make it easy because they see it going 5 feet left of him, and then
I think that happens to Goldschmidt all the time because he's like the RoboCop of first baseman. He's not an artist over there. He's not a scoop machine. He just does it like a military, like a Marine of first base, right? And then you got a guy like Arenado throwing like he from all angles. He's sidearm, he's 3/4, he's over the top, he's coming from the hole, he's amazing, right? But again, Rowland didn't have the range, so he would get to a ball in a standard way. But then when he stood up and threw that ball across the diamond, it was just four-seamer every single time. Like literally,
Perfect.
He had probably taken that ball out of his glove 4 trillion times just to get to that 4 seam. Like he, just removed it from his glove over and over until he could take a ball and adjust to the 4 seam before he ever threw it. And then he still had time to like pick out his target, right? So yeah, just so that was unique. And but with that said, it's hard to imagine anybody being as great at third as Scott Rowan. Now we're going back to what we're talking about. Arenado's got 2 third basemen like that could play in this league for about 50 other teams, right? That can't get their position at third because they got to work around Arenado.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
where
the thing is like with Arenado, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, everybody's saying how bad he's hitting and everything. I mean, the dude's still hitting 266. I know he doesn't have the power that he normally has, but I mean, like, when you factor in his age, like, I think St. Louis fans, especially, are giving him way too high of expectations. I mean, because it's just a known fact. As you get older, you go down.
Egos.
Yeah. So,
Egos are the problem with human beings. That's where human beings fail. They fail because of their self-perception. They don't understand where they're at compared to where they think they're at. When you talk about a guy like Nolan Arenado, if he starts to feel pressure from underneath about his performance, it's going to make him a worse player. If he's confident and feels like, yeah, I'm only going to play 4 more years, but I'm definitely better than these dudes, he's going to play well. I see a guy that's feeling a little bit of angst about his performance right now. And so I don't think that's beneficial. That's the same way I would relate it to the Wilson Contreras thing, in that I don't think that there's any doubt that Wilson Contreras can hit a baseball as far as anybody on the Cardinals. My dilemma with Wilson Contreras is his ability to be a non-ego teammate and give young guys a chance instead of him always like posturing like, I'm obviously a better hitter than you. So, and I've got more money than you, so I'm already in the lineup. So what are you gonna do, kid? Compared to somebody who's like, all right, let's rally these young dudes together and like let's build a team out of them. I don't think Goldschmidt would mess with that. He would never be a negative influence on that. And I think Wilson Contreras' braggadocio would make him actually a negative influence on some young players. That was my dilemma with him.
Yeah. See, but also, like, so going back to, like, the Arenado, like,
right,
and the 2 that could play third over him, Gorman and Walker, and then you can also even throw Donovan in there. So if you look at their averages after tonight's game, Arenado, which Gorman has more home runs, but Arenado has more home runs than Donovan and Walker. And then also, before tonight's game, Arenado had a higher average than Donovan because Arenado went 0 for 4 today to bring his average down to 266, and Donovan went 2 for 4 to bring his average to 271. So he's only 5 points higher than him now.
Right.
And then Gorman went 2 for 4 to get up to 210. And then, I mean, Jordan Walker is, I don't know this for sure, but I think he's batting around like 260 in the minors right now.
Okay, so to break down even what I said earlier about getting rid of Ciani out of the starting lineup, I would. I want to reflect on that based on kind of what you were just talking about. He would be a bench player for me who got platooned quite a bit in center field with Lars Nootbaar. Jordan Walker would come back up, even though maybe he's not even ready. And guys like Crawford and Carpenter would stay only as veteran bats on the bench. Fermin would go down. there'd be an adjustment real soon. And then I would bring up the best minor league pitcher we've got come September, and then make a push. I think we have. I think I would like the ace from the White Sox. That 6'6" lefty named like Couché, right? Yeah, something like that.
So fun fact about that actually is I worked with him in college, and I mean I could tell because I worked with him the year before he got drafted,
right?
And you could just tell that dude is a gamer. He knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing, and I've been saying it all year. That is the guy we need.
I agree with you. And I think it would take quite a package to get him.
It would, but I think it would be worth it.
Yes, agreed. Any chance to get him? So, what's the package, in your opinion?
I think there's a lot of ways you can go with it because I mean,
there's a multitude of ways, but like, would you give up Gorman?
Yes.
Okay. Would you give up Walker?
Yes. So these are all kind of depending on who else we're giving up with them. I mean, but there's not many people. I mean, there's a couple.
You'd give up everybody.
No, I would not give up.
No, I'm not saying you'd give them like 4 of our best players. I'm saying you'd give them one of our most elite prospects.
No. There like I said, there's a couple players that would be like a no-touch list for me.
Okay, let's hear them.
So Mason Wynn, 100% not getting rid of him.
Okay. That's it.
I know he's been injury ridden, but I'm not giving up on Newt. I think Newt's one of our better and.
Well, that's an impulse. That's not a fact. That's just.
I mean,
Mason,
it's not.
Mason wins a fact.
That's simply my opinion.
Would you give up Ryan Helsley?
Yes.
No way.
I think Helsley leaves us though. I don't think he re-signs with us.
Well, that's another dilemma. Well, it's the same dilemma.
You can take that chance.
But my point is, you've got.
If I knew for sure he was going to
resign. The White Sox don't have
anybody.
anybody. They don't have anybody over 600 OPS. They got nobody who can hit. Like, okay, maybe 2 players.
I mean, so another guy that the White Sox are going to move is Luis Robert. And, I mean, I would take Luis Robert and Garrett Crochet.
Yeah. Word. And
like I said, I mean,
I would give up. Here's who I'd put in the list of people I'd give up: Dylan Carlson, Victor Scott, Ivan Herrera. I would give up Lars Nootbaar. I would give up Jordan Walker. I think that's the group. I think I would say take any combination of these guys you want until you push us over the line, and then I'm going to give you one arm out of my minor leagues that is like a hot young arm.
See, I would agree with that list, except I would change Newt with Thomas Sagasi, because I think Thomas Sagasi has higher trade value than anybody on that list you just named.
Yeah, he's an up and comer.
Yeah. I mean, he's a stud. And his last year when we got him, we traded for him. His second game in AAA with Memphis, he hit for the cycle. I mean, and last year he ended the season batting over 300. I can't even tell you how many home runs, but I mean, was hitting for power.
Don't you think the White Sox need an arm that might be the replacement and a bunch of bats?
Okay, so let me ask you this: Are you trading Tink Hence for him?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Because I think that the Cardinals have plenty of arms, which is it's kind of a hard thing to kind of like realize, is that their arms are the best thing they got. They don't have aces, but they got arms. So Tink Hence is an arm, and if they want them, You got to give him up. I believe that like Matthews should be up this year. I think that Quinn Matthews is the future and Tink Hence is a maybe, even though he's a higher rated prospect. And I would trade Tink Hence. This would be the perfect trade. Tink Hence, Jordan Walker, Dylan Carlson, Sagazy. That's a lot to give up. But you bring that lefty onto this team, and they're gonna win. But
also somebody like Sagacy, like I just don't like. He's a great player, but I don't see him fitting with our team. I mean,
no. I don't think he has he doesn't have a
Wentz.
place on the team, and that's
exactly.
And he's perfect. That's why you trade with the other league. You know, and you just make sure that like do you have a shortstop who can hit? Because we got one in our minor league system who's never going to get a chance. Do you have a right fielder / third baseman who has the upside of like Gary? I mean, I don't even know, like the upside of Andrew Jones or something. Like Jordan Walker has massive upside, man.
100%.
Yeah. So then you put those two in, and then you give them like Tink Hens. Yeah.
I mean, and so like the reason I'm okay, like I do like Tink Hens. Like, would I love to keep him on our team? Yeah.
Yes.
But if we can get rid of him to get somebody like Garrett Crochet, then I'm okay with it. Simply because a guy that like for some reason nobody ever wants to talk about. I mean, honestly, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about him so much that you might not even recognize the name. Cooper Jerpy.
I know who that is.
Yeah, we drafted
his name looks like Herpy.
Yeah, we drafted him in 22 from Oregon State, where he was a stud at, and he's been throwing real. I think he's in Double-A right now for us, and he's been throwing really well for us since he's been here. I mean, and I think strong left-hander. I mean, I think he can turn into be a really solid player. I mean, he's just watching him at Oregon State. And
so is the question whether I'd give him up? I'd give him up tomorrow, like without even thinking.
Well, no, I would, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if we're getting rid of Tink Hence and we still have Cooper Jerpy, then I mean, let Cooper Jerpy take the place of Tink Hence, because I'm telling you, Cooper Jerpy can be as good as Tink Hence.
Well, all I'm saying is that out of the top 30 prospects we have, only one is going to be like an elite major league player. Maybe four get to the majors of all that 30.
Yeah, so, I mean,
you know,
it's all taking a risk. I mean,
so give any one of those up immediately.
Yeah, I mean, it's all taking a risk. You never know. Like, some things can turn out really bad for you. Some things can turn out really good for you. I mean, like, when we lost Zach Gallen, nobody knew that he was going to be really good or really bad or whatever. Or we were talking about it earlier. Adolis Garcia. I mean,
Razorina, but we kind of knew he was going to be okay. But
yeah, Adolis Garcia,
yeah, like, nobody knew that.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wanted
him. He kind of looked.
He
looked like a flop. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think that any of those guys, that guy is like he's Paul Skeens from the left side, and nobody knows who he is. So like, get him a contract tomorrow. You know, don't you agree? That guy's.
I mean, I don't know that I go as far as Paul Skeens, but I
know
what you're saying.
He's the second best young pitcher in the league.
Yeah, no, I mean, kid's a stud, absolute stud, and you don't know baseball if you think any different. I mean,
yeah, like name the. I couldn't, but I'm just saying, like top 5, 23 or under pitchers, like it's those two, I would say. And if the Cardinals can get that guy, they gotta get him.
Yeah, and the thing is he's out there for the picking. I mean,
no, because they're dead last.
He's not going to be on the White Sox at the end of the year. Somebody else is going to have him.
Yeah,
and this is where
he's still under control, which means all you do is trade the whole house for him, and then you get him while he's still under control, and then you hope you can keep him, but you're going to get a few years out of him, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so just give them whatever the hell they want. Just don't make it Mason Wynn. Don't make it, don't debilitate your team for it, but give them everything give them everything that is within reason, because they have massive holes. We don't have, their boat's sinking. Our boat just needs a cork.
Yeah, and I mean, as we mentioned earlier, we have so many young top players and top prospects that we can get rid of for somebody like that. I mean, we have the tools to trade for them to where our
Yes.
team's still going to be good. We're still going to keep our foundation.
Yes.
We're just going to make it better.
We're trading draft picks for a player who's ready for the league.
Yeah, for a legit stud.
Yeah.
I mean, an already proven legit stud. Yeah. And as you mentioned earlier, super young. I mean,
yeah.
Super young, and he's already shutting the best hitters in the world down. Like, it's a no-brainer to me.
Okay, I mean, so what are you telling the franchise? Okay, that's the trade we need, in my opinion. I think we've agreed that a starting pitcher, because for instance, Quinn Matthews sitting in the minor leagues, that you bring in this guy on the lefty side, right? You get rid of some of the dead weight off of your roster, which they're not dead weight. They're actually major league ball players that just can't make the Cardinals. Because if two 6-star players are battling for the same position, then nobody's winning, right? So the winner is the guy who's produced. Brendan Donovan produced. Burleson produced. Walker's in the minor leagues, so Walker probably bigger upside than any of them, but he's got to go in exchange for what we need. And what we need is a 6'6" lefty that can throw 100 miles an hour.
For sure. I mean,
yeah.
You have people like Jordan Walker, who not every team, but a lot of MLB teams, he wouldn't be in their minors.
No.
You have somebody like Sagasi, who same thing. A lot of teams, he's not in their minors. I mean, we just have a surplus.
We have a surplus of seven. We have a surplus of sevens.
Yeah, so like somebody who's young, like Sagasi and Walker.
Let him play. Let him play. Let him play. Let him play for the Kansas City Royals. Let him play who are not bad, by the way. But let him play for the Kansas City Royals. Let him play for the Chicago White Sox. Let him play every day for these teams that are not competing in the American League.
Exactly. And trust me, I love Jordan Walker.
Their best pitcher.
I don't want to see him go, but I want to see the Cardinals be good.
Yeah.
And I think getting rid of Jordan Walker would make us good. And like I said, I love Jordan Walker. Like, I don't want to see him go. I want to see him in Cardinal red for the rest of his career. Right. But if it's going to make us better, then yeah, I mean, I'd rather do that. And same with Sagasi. Sagasi's awesome. Yeah. But
he ain't played shortstop for the Cardinals.
Yeah, exactly. I'd much rather see him go than Mason Wynn. I mean, that would be
This is one of those.
Mason Wynn is the one guy that you cannot get rid of ever.
This is one of those "let me help you" speeches. Like, let me help you. Let me help you. Like, let me help you. I'm gonna give you bats, and I'm gonna give you defenders, and you're gonna give me your best starter. And then I'm going to give you a starter who's almost ready. And you guys are going to win more baseball games. That's what you're offering teams, because you do have a lot of sevens on this team. We don't need any more sevens. We need a 10. We need a 10 on the mound, or a 10 behind the plate, or a 10, because we don't have any 10s right now.
Yeah.
We've got
another guy that, depending on, because they're on the verge right now. When I was watching Sunday Night Baseball last night, the Yankees and the Red Sox, they were asking, are the Yankees going to be sellers? Are they going to be buyers? Because they've been so inconsistent all year. So nobody knows what they're going to do. And another team that I think is like that is the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, they're on the verge of selling or buying right now. And so if
they can't buy. They just have the best young arm in the game. Period.
No, I know, but
they
that's
got
what
nothing else.
But that's what I'm saying though. So like not necessarily buying, but also not selling. Like just kind of staying in that little like middle, like okay, we're not gonna really.
No, that's who the Cardinals should be trading with. The Cardinals should be giving.
The only problem is they're in our division. So
that's right. It won't happen. It can't happen politically.
Yeah.
But like literally, I would give them our entire farm club for Skeens tomorrow.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're not getting rid of Skeens until they have to give him an actual contract. The person I was looking at was Aroldis Chapman, believe it or not, because if they're trading people, if they're selling,
that's a perfect buy. Yeah, that's a perfect buy.
Yeah,
actually, that's a really smart buy.
To add him with Kittredge, Romero, I mean, like I think that'd be awesome.
Oh my God, that's a great idea. So
yeah, I mean,
I hadn't thought about that. It's a great idea.
Inning?
Yeah, I can imagine it very clearly, and it would work.
Yeah, because when I was watching the Pirates the other day, Chapman came in. I mean, 103, 104, 103, 103.
Super smart move. Honestly, here's what I would do: is I would not trade for the starter. I would bring up Quinn Matthews and make it my fifth start in September when he's still under control. And I would let Palante get us to September, and then I'd bring up Quinn Matthews for the whole month of September and see if he can pitch.
See, that's what I was just about to bring up is Palante's last two starts. I mean, he's looked like an absolute stud. Like,
well, he is an absolute stud.
Yeah, he's proven it before. I know last year he struggled a little bit, but the year before that, he went, 6-1 as a starter for us?
He did. But, like, for instance, if we had an ace, I'd have no problem with it. I still don't have much of a problem with it because the team is actually starting to win and play good. I feel like their pitching staff is set up to win the Central even, right? I don't think it's set up to win the World Series. I think this guy, Quinn Matthews, has the potential of being almost a Rick Ankiel-like lefty. He's not weird, like almost phenom like Ankiel, but he's wicked. So I think you can do it in-house with a team that's winning the way they're starting to win now. 5 or 6 over 500 at the break. Like they could play 600 ball the rest of the way home and win easily. So you don't really have to change too much. But man, if you got a Aroldis Chapman, let's go back to your point. If you took some of the players we're talking about, got us a Aroldis Chapman, which they would never give up in their own division. But if you got him, then you could bring up Quinn Matthews in September, and it's him and Palante battle it out to the playoffs, and then you've got a staff.
Yeah, for sure.
So awesome.
I mean, that 8-9 Chapman, Helsley, I mean, that would be like, oh.
Yeah, because the only one I see showing any signs of tiring is Romero. He's starting to look a little bit susceptible. Kittredge is fine, but also both of them are susceptible. It's not lights out with Kittredge. It's not lights out with Romero, but it's been very, very good. So it's not lights out. Same with Helsley. It's not lights out. Well, no pitcher's lights out, really, when it really comes
But
down.
I mean, still, Kittredge and I mean, I know it was against the Nationals, but Kittredge and Romero combined for 3 innings, 2 hits, no runs tonight. I mean,
you can see that confidence growing. I mean, as a pitcher, I look at Kittredge and I watch him chuck it up there, and he ain't even thinking about the outcome. He's just chucking it. He knows what he's doing, but I'm just saying he ain't afraid of anything that's going to happen to that ball, right? And Romero is the same way too. It's just like, all right, give me the ball. Let's go. I'm chucking it up there, man. And if they can hit it, they can hit it, And that's the kind of confidence you need out of your staff. And to watch Helsley get to the point where he's not worried anymore. He's just like, here you go. This is what I got. Some nights you're going to beat me. Some nights you're going to lose. But I think it's better than what you got, So that's good. So ultimately, yeah, Aroldis Chapman is a better trade than the guy from the White Sox, honestly, because I think you get Aroldis Chapman cheaper, and I think you could bring up Quinn Matthews to battle it out with Palante down the stretch, and then you would have a team that could win in the playoffs.
100%.
Now that we've got it all solved, this show is over. Congratulations to us. We just figured out the entire Cardinal organization in a matter of a few minutes for your entertainment. This is Connor Wilson and Josh Bobinet checking off and saying, go Cards. See you next time. Okay, so there we go. The first episode back for the Birds on the Wire podcast after several years. We lost our original co-host because he got a job in broadcasting, and we're not here to be broadcasters. We're just here to tell you what's going on with the St. Louis Cardinals. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Once again, this episode was brought to you by Phantom Mentor Digital. Tune in for next episode. We'll have it out ASAP. Y'all have a good rest of your day.